Hey guys, Hector Castillo, Poppy from girlshace.com. Today I want to talk about how much you should spend on a date. Now, I want to talk about also how much time you should spend on a date, because normally when I ask this question or bring up the topic, how much should you spend, the initial interpretation is that I'm going to talk about money, which is obviously important. If you're going on a lot of dates, you're going to be possibly spending a lot of money if you do pay for the girl, or even if you just pay for yourself. So we can go over money, time, and should you pay for the girl as well. Okay, so that'll be a good place to start, because then, you could go to even a fancy place, but if you're only paying for yourself, then you're doing okay with money. But question is, should you pay for her? Okay, now, a long time ago, Chase wrote a very popular article. It's still one of the most popular articles. I think it was just called, should you pay for the date? And he brought up the counter argument that you should actually not pay for a date. And what his argument is that a lot of times guys, when they go into dating a woman or taking her on a date, he's gonna pay for her because it's expected and because he wants to be a man and a provider. And what he wanted to do was to increase the advantages of us having success in romance. And he said that one of the small but impactful ways you can make that difference is by not paying for her. Because what you're doing is you're subverting the status quo. And what that's gonna do is it's going to get her out of the mindset of, he takes me on a date, he pays for it, and then we go on another one, then we go on another one, and then maybe he gets a kiss. Like that kind of mentality. You want to take her out of that mentality and make her see you as someone completely different. And then also she wants, Chase wanted us to have her see us as a lover, not a provider. Because what happens when you're a provider is the girl's gonna take it slower, because she's like, wow, here's this great package of this guy, he's paying for things, he's being really nice, romantic, he's gonna be a good boyfriend. But then in between your dates, she's gonna maybe end up sleeping with some guy who's just like, oh yeah, he's just a guy that you have sex with. Which is kind of insulting deep down. From the girl's perspective, they don't really see it that way because they're operating from their perspective, and it's not a bad thing. It's just, just in the same way that men usually don't see the things that women have to struggle with, right? We're kind of oblivious to their concerns, and we lack a lot of empathy when it comes to understanding women in dating. And the same thing, women really don't understand what we go through. And so you don't blame them for that, but at the same time, you don't want to experience that, and you don't want to be the guy who gets left with a kiss on the cheek after the end of the second date, and then you find out a few weeks later she's like, hey, I actually started seeing someone, and then what really happened was she sucked this guy's dick on the first date, and then they had sex, and then he kept laying down good pipe, and then you were out here being kind of a loser. Because being a provider up front is normally not a good thing to do. I mean, if you have a lot of money, then it doesn't fucking matter, right? If you're fucking loaded, then just don't take her on a fancy date though, right? But we want her to not see us as a provider. We want her to see us as a lover. Now, being a provider is not necessarily bad either. You do want to have some provider traits, because that's what's going to keep a girl coming back. If you're completely a lover, you can normally see her a few times, but she's normally going to start dating someone who has some provider values. So don't become too much of a lover. And so when I read this article from Chase, not to pay for dates for the reasons just explained, I started to at the end of the day, I was just like, hey, you wanna, split the check? And most girls were kind of happy with it. And I actually did see that, I had success getting with these girls, but I also had some girls who were like, whoa, that was kind of unexpected. Some of them were entitled bitches. So, that's probably your first reaction. Like, well, she can't pay for her own shit. Yeah, totally. Some of them were just entitled fucking cunts. As for some of them, I think that I already had so much lover value that me not offering to pay wasn't a, you're a man and you're supposed to pay kind of thing. I think it was just a, oh, okay, I don't know if this guy really cares about me or not. And like I said, that perspective is not necessarily right. I'm not justifying their perspective, but I am gonna say that recently, since I started making a little bit more money and I'm a little bit older, I did actually start offering to pay. I would just treat it like a thing, like it's not a big deal, right? I'm not treating it as I'm paying for you, therefore you have to sleep with me, right? Because that's a shitty attitude as well. I just treat it as, yeah, I have some cash and I can pay for this. and I enjoy it. I enjoy providing for a woman. It actually is something kind of nice. And if I had a lot of money, I would, provide a little bit more. Now, I'm not saying turn into a sugar daddy. No, fuck all that. That's so bad. You don't want to start a relationship off with a precedent of you're providing for her. But you can have the advantage of being a guy who provides for a woman, and it's not like you pay for her, her drink, and all of a sudden she thinks you're a fucking beta loser. That's not how it goes, right? Women aren't fucking psychopaths. But what you can do is you can keep the date between, let's say, at the most, $25 for both of you, if you choose to pay for both of you. This means don't go to dinner. This means grab a coffee. It could be, even less than $10. Grab a coffee, grab some fucking ice cream, something. Maybe you take him to Haagen-Dazs and you get some fancy fucking ice cream for like $25 total. Whatever. If you're spending this, what you're gonna do is you're gonna save money, and you can actually have the advantage of being a, kind of a provider, because it is kind of masculine in one way. But without fucking trying to impress her, because that's the whole thing. That's the mentality you need to realize. So it's okay to pay for a woman, and even to take her somewhere fancy, if that's where you want to go. But if you're going to take her there and paying for her simply to impress her, then it's going to come off really weird. She's going to interpret that. She may not know it, but she's going to see the way you're acting, and the guys who normally do that are also going to be doing other behaviors that are going to illustrate that kind of attitude. He's going to, brag about how much money he makes. He's going to be very arrogant about things. So if you keep the costs low, she's going to probably realize, okay, he may be a baller, he may not be, based on how you dress or what you do for a living, but he's not trying to impress me. But hey, that was a nice gesture. He paid for my date. And you keep it low cost. Now, the last one that I want to talk about right now is time. Increasingly, for me, this is becoming much more important. I'm willing to pay for our Uber to get home to save time instead of walking. I'm willing to offer to pay for her Uber home so that when she comes over, she'll be like, hey, it's gonna be kind of late. I'll be like, oh, don't worry, I'll get your Uber, right? I'm willing to pay money to save time, because in my mind, time is becoming much more important to me. And you need to realize this in all aspects of dating. So how much should you spend on a date? You also need to think, how much time should you spend on the actual date and dating a woman? So you need to think meeting her, texting her, taking her on a date, and how often you should see her. But let's go for the last two just to keep it very concise. How long should you spend on a date? If you're new to dating, if you're just very inexperienced and you don't have a lot of notches under your belt and you don't have a lot of experience with dating, then I suggest that you should spend as much time on dates as possible just to get as much experience as possible. You just need to see as much of women as possible and understand them, and gather information based on the experiences and emotions and actions that you see with them and around them. Now, you do need to realize, though, that you should move quick. As always, if you can move quicker and you can get her home in 30 minutes, you should do that. If it takes an hour and a half, okay. If you're new, spend as much time as you need. But if you're relatively experienced or very experienced, I suggest you start thinking, if this isn't going anywhere in the first half hour, Jesus. if I don't fuck her in 10 minutes, fuck this bitch, couple hours at the most. I happen to be pretty persistent and kind of a dog, but recently, I don't know if it's just a mood thing, but I'm just like, I don't know, if I'm not really getting the vibe within like 2 hours, like I'm doing something wrong. I should be pulling her. Because I've had sex with gorgeous, high quality women who normally you would think would be very resistant to fast sex, but pulled them within an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we had sex. So there's no woman who needs that much time. This particular girl might require a little bit more in the sense that she's used to this, and because of your interaction, maybe you kind of fumbled a bit and you need to stay longer. If you really like her, spend more time with her, but you should really start thinking, how much time should I spend on the actual date, and try to cut it down. Because if you're doing a lot of dating, you're going to be spending a lot. This week, it kind of just hit me how much time I actually spend with women. It's fucking enormous amount of time. So how much time do you spend on the actual date, and how much time do you spend dating a girl, right? If you're sleeping with her already, then as much time as you fucking want, right? Or as much time as necessary to keep the relationship the way it should be. Like if you have a friends with benefits, you shouldn't be spending too much time with her. And I should have a video about that in the description below. But how many dates should you spend with a girl, right? So how much to spend on a date? It's not just the money, and it's not even just the time on the date, it's the time with that girl in general. So if it's taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dates to sleep with her, God, that's a lot of investment. You know, you could be, if it's taking that long to sleep with a girl, then you did something wrong in the seduction, normally. There's someone out there who could have gotten her really quickly on the first date. These days, if I really, really like a girl, maybe 3 dates, maybe. But I really, really lose my interest after 1 or 2 dates. Normally after 1, I really just lose my interest. I mean, I'll still throw it out there and I'll try, because fuck it, why not, you know? But I'll normally offer to like have her cook with me at home. So I'm already at home, I'd have to go out, you know, I already have to eat because everyone has to eat. So it's very simple for me. But I really want to save that time. Plus she's already home. I don't have to spend the time on the date, then fucking get her back home and blah, blah, blah. I'm already there. So think about how much time you're spending on dating in general. And like I said, the same rule applies to how much time you should spend on the date. If you're very new to dating, just spend as much time with women as possible and just get as much experience as possible. Now there's a flaw to that, of course, and that's if you spend too much time with a woman, you get very invested, because that's just how it works, because that's how compliance works, right? If you get a woman to spend a lot of time and emotion and maybe even money on you, she's gonna be invested. It's just how it's gonna work. When you invest in something, you become emotionally attached to it. It's almost impossible not to become attached to it. It's just a mechanism in the mind, a law of the universe. Don't know how it works, but it just fucking works. Now we go more into that actually. If you want to get girls investing and complying, that's actually 1/3 of attraction, right? So attraction is actually how similar a girl feels like with you in terms of her way of thinking, like her behaviors, her job. You know, if she shares similar things to you, she's going to feel attracted to you, at least in a connection sort of way. Now, when it comes to the actual sexual attraction, that's where arousal comes in. How do you look? You know, do you have muscles? Do you touch her? Do you look at her in a very sexy way and give her that gaze? And then compliance. And when you combine all these things together, you actually have a perfect recipe for attraction. And you can think that this girl, you know, the date's not going that well, but if you're building similarity, you know, you're touching and you're getting compliance, you can be like, hey, let's get out of here. And she's like, okay. And you're like, whoa, it doesn't really seem like she liked me. But, you know, if you put the equation together, these 3 things kind of added up, and that works, because it's not even a psychological manipulation thing. It's just a simple fact of human behavior. When we invest in things, when we find them sexy, and when we feel a connection to them, that's attraction. And we're going to be much more likely to want to mate with that person. And so when it comes to dating, you can check out in the description below, we have a product called One Date. And this is going to teach you how to take this understanding of human behavior, and it's going to allow you to have girls very attracted to you within the first date, and then take them home and hopefully turn them into a girlfriend if that's what you want. But reversely, right, we don't want to become too invested in a woman, because it's just not to her advantage, right? Some woman is probably watching this like, well, why don't you get invested in me? But that's a selfish perspective, right? What she's saying is, well, why don't you really like me? Well, look, honey, I don't know if we're gonna end up together, and I don't know if we're actually gonna end up sleeping together, and so I'm not gonna wait 10 fucking dates. As much as that would be good for you, because you get attention, you get validation, no. I'm in this for me, okay? I want girls to feel good, and I want them to end up better than I found them. That's great, I love girls, but I'm in this shit for me, okay? So I'm gonna try and spend as least money as possible, as least time as possible, because I don't wanna get too invested for no fucking reason, because we go on 5 dates, and then we end up not sleeping together. You know, that might be fun for you because you had a good time, but I want some fucking pussy. And I'm sure all the guys watching this also want pussy, and they want to save money and they want to save time. So how much should you spend on a date? Well, if you don't pay for her, and if you're newer to girls, I suggest trying not to pay, and just to see what it's like to kind of be an asshole, in the sense that you subvert social norms and see how women react. You can actually have some great reactions and some not great reactions, but don't pay for her. But if you got some experience, and it could actually help your game to be a little bit more providery because you're too much of a fuckboy, too much of a player, then you can pay for her. Don't spend more than, you know, 10 to 25 bucks. And you shouldn't be going on more than a couple days with a girl anyways, so that shouldn't add up that much. If you're doing a lot of dating though, like you're going out with 3-4 new girls a week, then you really need to be careful with how much money you're spending, but really start thinking about your time as well. Your time is just as important as your money, and even more so, because you only have so much of this, and there's an infinite amount of this. Okay, cool. Hector Castillo, Poppy, girlschase.com. Nice to talk to you. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell, follow me on Instagram, ask me any questions you'd like, send me some DMs, send me screenshots asking for text advice. Also remember to check out One Date in the description below. Check out my college book in the description below if you want to understand the social circle game, whether you're in college or not. It works, it helps, cool. Hector Castillo, Poppy, girlchase.com. Ciao.